I love this. We'll now call the city council meeting to order at 7:04 PM. Laura, would you call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxon,
Present.
Mayor Brown, Councilmember Fellows, Councilmember Tucson, Councilmember Simmons,
Here.
Councilmember McLean, Councilmember King.
Present.
With 4 present, we have a quorum. I would entertain a motion to excuse those not present.
So moved. Support.
Any objections? This is a voice vote, right? Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Take a moment to center and focus. This has been brief in the past, and we've got very few people here, so we'll give this a few moments here. This time I'd entertain an adjournment or motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I have support.
Support.
Any additions or changes to this?
Yes, I would like to add some discussion items. I have 5 here. One is engagement. The next one is communication. The third one is representation. The fourth one is appointment and voting eligibility. And the fifth one is transparency. Don't know if anyone wants to second that, and I have a comment.
I'll second it.
Councilmember McLean, who is not able to come tonight, did offer a couple other suggestions for discussion. One was terms, and the other one was form of commission recommendations. And I did see those in the existing agenda. Number 6 includes terms of office. And then number 12 included commissioner processes and procedures, which talk about how resolutions come from commissions. So I saw that those were covered, so I didn't include that in my amendment.
Okay.
And just as I'm, to be clear, like would these kind of follow in this order, or these kind of topic areas that have things like that we should start with? Like, do you want to move it to the top of the order?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in putting it at the front of here because as I understood the work session, it was to really for council to discuss the issue of commissions and various things that have been coming up over the last months and to provide guidance and vision for certain issues that have been arriving. And these things, I just didn't see it when I reviewed the packet. I didn't see where I could talk about these things, so I added them.
Well, thank you.
Number of members, terms, member requirements. So in terms of representation, I guess I'm not sure how these do or don't fit into the previous agenda and why they have to come first. So it seems like the first couple of things are just record keeping and so appointments, what
Mm-hmm. appointment and voting eligibility. So that would entail residents who are non-electors and youth.
Doesn't that fit under filling vacancies?
Well, the agenda as I see it now looks to be a review of our current processes, and these are topic areas which I wanted deeper discussion via the council to, provide like a direction to go move towards instead of just reviewing our current processes.
Terms was up. Any other discussion? Again, this is the voice vote. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Me.
Now is the time for public comment. This is your time to let us know how you feel about the issues at hand. This is a special work session, so I'm assuming everybody is here to comment on those. This is the only time that you'll have to give, both at the beginning and at the end, if we haven't gotten through everybody at the end. So there's 45 minutes to do that. If you want to give public comment, I encourage you to do that. I only have one person signed up, and I'll start there. How many people do we have online, Lori?
4, and
Oh.
has raised their hand online.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll start with who we have here and then go to the floor. Andrew Fanta.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council, counselor, and our city manager. My name is Andrew Fanta. I'm on the Board of Review. I've been chair of the Board of Review for a number of years. We have a long-term serving Board of Review. Mr. Craig Hupy is our senior member, and Roberta Andrews is a current member. We are diligent in taking classes as mandated by the state of Michigan, and we work very well with our assessor. I would like to share with something for your deliberation, perhaps, thank you, and perhaps consultation with others. As you know, the Board of Review hears appeals from property owners in the city, people who have either had their taxes raised recently or have purchased a home in the city of Ypsi. This has brought us every Board of Review. We have people coming in and they're angry, they're distraught, they're upset. Sometimes they're even discourteous to us concerning their property uncapping and their taxes rising. Now, we don't have any issue with that. My point is this: people that buy homes in Ypsi overwhelmingly consult a realtor. And the realtor has no mandated obligation to say, if you purchase this parcel, your taxes are going to increase. And so what we have is we have people that get a letter from their mortgage company saying, your escrow is short $11,000. Your escrow is short $8,800. And even those who don't have a mortgage and maybe have had assistance in purchasing the home from family members are still subject to sticker shock when it comes in. Now, what I'm proposing is that you folks really discuss this among yourselves. I will certainly make myself available to the city manager if there's any inputs that I could make that would be helpful in resolving this. Here's ultimately kind of, if I could wave my magic wand, they sign a sales contract with a realtor to purchase the home. there's a paragraph similar to something I'm going to share with you. If I could run over a minute
Give you,
or two.
Yep.
Disclosure. Our realtor has explained to us, me, that our property tax may/will increase on the property that we are buying. And then you could have another paragraph says, this is increases estimated by our realtor, or we were advised to confer with the city assessor. Now, what I'm thinking about here is there's a number of different levels. You can discuss this among yourselves. You could directly provide leadership. Hey, the city of Ypsilanti is requiring a realtor to have this statement in a property sold in the city. You can confer with other cities. Your city manager could talk with other city managers. Ultimately, it may be something that goes to Lansing, where the state legislature says this would be a good policy. I have talked with Lori and her staff. They get some of the same things when people come in to pay their property taxes. It's unfortunate. It does happen. It shouldn't happen. And we on the Board of Review try our very level best to explain this to folks. I think it's something that somehow in the shuffle of modernity and where we are now, we've overlooked. I think it is an obligation for somebody selling a parcel to a newcomer to our city, somebody that wants to join the city of Ypsi and interact with its citizens, its programs, the things that it has to offer. It's kind of a rude awakening, and it doesn't have to be. Thank you so much.
thank you. Anyone else in the room that would like to comment publicly? Lori, who is online? Ad Layton, how are you?
Hey there, I'm good. How are you? Prayer. I almost said prayer. Mayor Pro Tem, hello. Oh my God. Hi everyone. Kat Layton, Ward 3 resident, also chair of the Human Relations Commission. I just wanted to just bring a couple of just some awareness to a couple of points. The first one is on the primary master list. It indicates that there are like 2 vacancies, but there's really 3 vacancies, which is reflected on the vacancy list. I also just want to say we've had 2 amazing applicants get passed by who are very much aligned with the mission and purpose that you as the officials of the city of Ypsi say that you want the Human Relations Commission to do. And so I would just like to support the reconsideration of Raven Kalfayan as a Ward 1 resident on the Human Relations Commission. I would also like to support possible non-resident application for Corn Williams. And I would also like to support the reappointment of Brittany Doulos, who was a commissioner, but due to an address change was removed from the commission since she was not approved as a non-resident, but approved as a city resident. Staff said she was automatically removed. So please reconsider that appointment. I also just want to note that I think commissioners should be made aware when there are vacancies or applicants to the commission, not necessarily for approval. I recognize that these are city council appointed seats, but more so as just like a courtesy to be aware of what's happening with the commission that we're on. And given that there's been a few ethical concerns, I would think it would be really helpful and wise to focus on filling the Board of Ethics as well, so it could be active for people to be able to lend different concerns there. And lastly, I'm just looking forward to a conversation around processes regarding resolutions and ordinance amendments that want to come from commissions to council, how that can be best done. We as a commission have received some information that we thought was the right way, but then when we did that way, we got other information that was conflicting. And I recognize that there's been transitions amongst many staff members and council members. So I think finalizing that and maybe changing that would be really helpful so we can make sure we're not wasting time and getting things done still. And I also would love to support the reappointment of Justin Harper, who is right now the vice chair. I believe his appointment or his term is coming up for expiration, and I would just like to support a reappointment for him. And finally, I guess the role of the staff liaison, really understanding that a little bit better, so that way commission, staff, and council can all work cohesively. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. If I may, I'm going to read into the record public comment from Ellen Thackeray, the staff liaison to the Historic District. Are there more people online? Or no? All right. We're done, then I'll just read this in. Summary of process and procedures. The Historic District Commission. Local historic districts and local historic district commissions in Michigan are enabled by Michigan's PA 169 of 1970 as amended. The law establishes and regulates all aspects of historic districts in Michigan. It states that historic preservation is a public purpose, and it establishes how the legislative body of a local unit may, by ordinance, regulate work, including construction, alteration, repair, and demolition of resources in local historic districts. There are several stated purposes of the state law, including safeguard the heritage of the local unit, stabilize and improve property values in each district and the surrounding areas, foster civic beauty, strengthen the local economy, promote the use of historic districts for the education, pleasure, and welfare of the citizens of the local unit and of the state. Local ordinances around the state, like Ypsilanti's, adopted very similar language about what historic districts do for their local communities. The state law establishes how historic districts are formed, how many commissioners are needed for a full commission based on community population. Any professional qualifications of commissioner must have, at least one commissioner must be a registered architect, for example. And it establishes that the historic district commissions only review exterior work in historic districts. The state law also establishes the criteria local historic district commissions use to approve or deny proposed projects, and it establishes the appeals process. Our local ordinance is compliant with the state law, and our commission operates lawfully, efficiently, and transparently. In compliance with state law, our local commission has 7 members and uses the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitating historic buildings when reviewing proposed work. Process. Property owners submitted an application for work in the historic district, either online or at the building department. There is a review fee based on the construction cost of the proposal. The preservation planner reviews the application, requests more information, or deems it complete, and either approves the proposed work administratively or prepares it for the commission's review. The commission meets monthly. The preservation planner compiles the agenda and packet and posts it online for everyone, and the commission must approve or deny the proposed work within 60 days of complete application by state law. Please call or email Preservation Planner Ellen Thackeray with any questions, and thank you for your time. And so with that, I will turn over to the mayor, the chair. Sure.
All right. So if there's no more public comments, we will close and move into our agenda. And I see it's been amended. And so the first thing on the agenda is engagement. And I apologize, I don't know who amended it. I think it was, okay, so we can start there.
Yeah, thank you for bearing with some amendments to the agenda. So this was something that we discussed in November. I put it as engagement because we can talk about a variety of things related to engagement, but specifically about the council commission liaisons. And so in November, when we spoke about it, the things I brought up was that the commission liaison role is not enacted via charter or ordinance and is not required for advisory commissions. And it was a recent policy established in about 2020. I spoke about how it's a lot of work for council to do what we do already and also do commission liaisoning, and that, council members in Ypsilanti are not paid very much for to have so much extra work. And I think that's mostly what I brought up, besides the point that I just don't know if that the commissions or council members on commissions as kind of like a babysitter commissions is very necessary. And then also I just want to bring up that a former city attorney Barr brought up having concerns about the liaison role because it is established that council members shall not serve on any board or commission unless required by state law. So some of our boards and commissions require it. But outside of that, the former city attorney Barr stated just concerns about pushing against that edge where it could be seen as having advocates of council on commissions. And so those are reasons why I thought it would be great to talk about it more today. And I also just want to bring up one extra point that I don't believe that liaisoning is necessarily like quality engagement for commissions, because it's considered inappropriate to lobby or to advocate. So really you're kind of just sitting there. So it's not really engagement. I understand it as more of continuity of information. So if commissioners have questions about things that the council member might know, then the council member can offer that information. But I still don't know if it really does much to support like engagement role between council and commission. So that's another thing I'm bringing up.
Thank you. Discussion.
I guess for me, I would definitely I think Kat Layton also said it, Commissioner Layton said she wanted to clearly define the role of the council liaison.
Thanks. I've been the liaison for a number of different commissions and committees, the non-motorized, advisory committee, the planning commission, the pool, which is not a city commission, but sustainability. And throughout those times, I felt like that was a very good role, and it provided a link between between council and the commission that I was liaison to. There have been a lot of people that have taken on those roles and not been present, not been prepared, not had the information readily available for the commission at the time. But I think overall the role is a good one. And I think with the functionality and training for council members and for commissioners, I think that will be a more fruitful engagement for that. It has been noted that certain council members' presence at some of the commission meetings has been disruptive in the past. And I think that's why the liaison role was actually created. I'm speculating on that, but before this was a liaison position, council members would show up at commission meetings and try to sway those bodies. I've had this conversation we've had this discussion in council about what the role of liaison is, not with this particular group, but in the past. And I think setting clear guidelines for what that role is and what they can and cannot do would be beneficial. I do see the role as serving a very helpful function for both. Having those reports come to council from the liaisons, those have had different flavors over the years, and sometimes they're nothing, and sometimes they're great because we get to find out what those commissions are doing on a regular basis without those folks having to come in every time and say that Kat shows up all the time, so we know what's going on there. But I think the efficacy of those liaisons has been dependent on the person sitting them. But I think with the conversations we've had about having training for commissioners and and council people for being a liaison. I think they will continue to be fruitful.
Thank you. Pardon me. Further discussion? Councilmember Simmons?
Um, yeah, I've just been like trying to like gather my thoughts on this. I I will say like I remember when Councilmember Fellows had first brought this up. I was like, oh wow. This is I hadn't really thought about it in that way. But then I started actually zooming into the commission just because it actually is a challenge for me. Um, I enjoy it, especially because right now I'm currently a liaison for the Sustainability Commission, which is a commission I served on before I was on council. And so it kind of helped me to kind of still remain connected and to understand how things were moving and to bring information back. Um, but I will say that yeah, it has been really helpful. But then it is difficult as we think about just different responsibilities that we have to kind of work in a regular commitment. And also one of the other things is I actually like would love to kind of go to other commissions. There's other ones where either there's things that might be interesting that they might be taking up or things like that. But I kind of feel less likely to do that just in terms of time commitment. Um, and also knowing that somebody else is probably there in that liaison role. But we don't necessarily even get the fullness of what's happening in those commissions during our reports, during our meetings. Um, so I will say that, and I also will say, I definitely it sometimes does feel like a challenge to kind of be in the space to not be necessarily an advisor, but kind of information that a lot of times the staff can share with the commission. Um, and and to not be able to really share my thoughts because whereas I feel like I'd have more opportunity to do that when I'm just visiting and can say something during public comment. Um, uh, rather than being the liaison. Like I think I'd actually be able to say more in that way, and to kind of still share information. So I am kind of torn because but I do feel like uh yeah, I do see a need to shift some of the areas of work and requirements and how I allocate some of that. And so, yeah, I would support some adjustments in this, in the engagement area.
All right, thank you. Oh, Councilmember Fellows?
Yeah, I wanted to just speak to some things that came up. One thing is Clerk Boudreau did mention the idea of rotating liaisons around to commit different commissions so that council members can be with different commissions. I haven't looked into how that works for other municipalities, but it seemed like a good way to understand, get a better picture of what commission work is looking like. And just to Pro Tem's point about certain council members are less engaged with commissions, it could just help with rotating members of council. And I brought this up as a topic of engagement because I definitely don't see this as I want less engagement between council and commissions. I'm definitely trying to understand how we can get like better quality engagement in some ways. And I am interested in kind of just utilizing our commissions more and tapping them for their specialty and expertise for certain topics. For example, like what we just did with Water Street for the Planning Commission, we asked for their help for looking at our zoning code. So I would like to, for at the dais, you use our ability to send tasks to commissions and also ask them, when they decide as a body something that they want the city to do, to send it up to us. So more communication that way. I think I'll leave it at that. Well, one thing I'll say is I'm not gonna, if people really want to serve as liaisons on commissions, like I'm not gonna come between you and that. I was just merely bringing it up as like an alternative to, because it hasn't been that long since it's been a role. And I could see it looking differently. And maybe it's a matter of just prioritizing it less. Like, some commissioners are going to these, or sorry, some council members are attending via Zoom or maybe attending on a quarterly basis or something.
Thank you. Yeah, what I would add is that I do think that there's value in having council members be present or participate in some way. And maybe we do look at restructuring the frequency of attendance and or the modality that they're attending. But one thing that's come up when I was serving as liaison, and even, well, some of the things that I serve on now as mayor are required. I have to be there. But when I was a council member, is that there are times where questions may come up where it's really a council question. And so a staff liaison cannot answer that question because they can't speak on the behalf of council or give direction or guidance on what the consensus of council has been, and that has been helpful. I know when I was serving as a liaison. So I don't know if it's it's like not an all or nothing. I think you're right. Maybe there is a way that we try to balance it differently, especially with the time commitments. Because even the idea of rotating, each meeting is on a different day of the month, a different week, and that can also be a lot with I know all of us have other commitments, and so maybe we go back and think about what do we want it to look like ideally, or if someone has an idea right now, or we could think about what it could look like, because I do think it's important to have some presence there while not, intimidating commissioners or the board, or, trying to lobby commissioners or board members, for things that we want as individuals. And I know that is the precipice of why the liaison role, came about. But it is a lot of work for us. Oh, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I've been thinking about the rotation for quite a while. In terms of training for council members, seeing what is actually happening on all the different commissions. I've had the pleasure and the privilege of being a liaison for a number of different things, and with each one of those, I was sitting in on Parks and Rec and just a number of things, and I learned quite a bit about that. And early on when I got on council, that was a good way to meet people, understand the issues that the city is facing by seeing how a group of people who have volunteered to do that came together to do business. There's a number of the council member fellows said had commented, the engagement with commissions is not just from the liaison, but from the dais as well. And we've gotten a lot of emails from people saying, what's going on here. So this is going off the liaison bit, but the engagement in terms of, having commissioners understand the duality of how business gets done. We rely on them to bring issues to us. Kat's a great example. She has brought a number of things before council, and having it go the other way with us asking them to do things. And so Planning Commission, we've done that a number of times over the years with ordinances that need to be reviewed, and just asking other commissions to weigh in on those things. There's been conversations about sustainability, weighing in on developments in terms of, what that looks like. And, when Commissioner Gibbons was the chair, I had conversations with her about that and what that process looks like, and what the actual role and the timing of that would be. So I think there's a lot of miscommunication in terms of what the roles of the commission are and how they do business in conjunction with city council. So we'll just leave it at that. But
Thank you. Councilmember Simmons?
I'm trying to think through, what it could look like in terms of, if there's different engagements, because I'm wondering, like, yeah, just in terms of expectations and whether a commission is finely served or underserved, if there's a council member who is kind of allocating their time differently, by choice. I mean, that could always happen even now even with our expectations. So, but anyway, I'm just trying to think about that, like in terms of what if there's some things where, if a couple of council members say, you know what, like I don't want to be a liaison, whether we would then still appoint liaisons from the remaining, or whether those commissions would not have a liaison. And I know, some of our commissions now, as I was looking, don't necessarily have a staff liaison even, so there is a little bit of variety, but, yeah, so I'm just raising that as something else to like think about a little bit.
Thank you. Councilmember Fellows?
Well, it sounds to me there isn't necessarily appetite tonight to discontinue this. But I might ask if we could revisit the topic and look at maybe some other models, some other municipalities, what they do for liaisons at a future meeting. And I just need to raise that I actually am not assigned to a commission at this point as liaison. And I don't, if we're going to keep this as a policy, I want to be in continuity with that. I know that, well, actually, Mayor Pro Tem, you might be on multiple commissions too, but at least Councilmember Patrick McLean is on 2. So what I recall from November is that he was added to the Parks and Arts Commission as a liaison. I'm willing to do that liaisoning, and I should probably check in with him first, but maybe we can do that at a future meeting.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
just to that point, at some point I was liaison to 3 different commissions. I was Parks and Arts, Sustainability, and Pool Board, and non-motorized, and they were all things that I was very interested in. So it wasn't a burden to do that. It was a bit of juggling, but I'm an empty nester, so I've got time, I guess. Anyway.
Someday. No.
Okay. All right, does it you feel like we're okay on this topic? Did you feel like what you asked was?
No. It was not. So that's what I was going to say. Can we clearly define what the council liaison role is?
I think that we can and we should, and I think that that may also lean toward like the further discussion of trying to come up with that, because I didn't come prepared with like a list of, yes, Randy.
Only tell you that, obviously I assumed this role at the beginning of the year. But I had an incredibly fruitful meeting with the election of council member fellows. I got to find another one of our fine coffee establishments in the city that I was not aware of. And one of the things that came out of that meeting in a subsequent meeting, was the need for a city council orientation packet. And that is something that I have been tinkering with when I find the time, which isn't available as much given certain things that are happening within the city, but nevertheless, I'm endeavoring. And that is precisely one of the things that I was going to look at. So everyone's input is very welcome and requested on that issue in particular.
Thank you. So so I do have some things that like when I wrote down what I think they should be, but again, I would want us to like agree and craft that all together and then maybe get input from you, Attorney Barker, on what it would be, you know, because there are some things that are very obvious and will be consistent. We don't get a vote, you know, we're here to support and guide, like, you know, some really broad expectations, but I would appreciate feedback on if there are things that you think would be important for council to know beyond that in terms of how we engage with boards and commissions so that we don't get in the weeds of overstepping or, you know, using our influence inappropriately, even if it's unintended. Councilmember Simmons?
Yeah, I just would say like one of the things I think about, I was like, well, what's the difference between guiding and lobbying? But I do think that as we talk about too, I think some of the ways in terms of the relationship between the commissions and council, that also might help to clarify some of this, because if council's giving clear direction to the commissions and we're seeing things that we can send to commissions and things like that, then I can see to that liaison role helping to translate to the commission, hey, this is what our conversation is, here's what we're looking for, here's what our expectations are, here's some timeline of what, you know, what will help us as we're trying to do this policy, here's how it's tied to what we're doing. So I can see like that being helpful, like if we are having things kind of moving from council to the commissions, that the liaison role would actually help to translate that and then help to be a resource for the commission on, you know, things that might help them to achieve those goals, such as, you know, which city department or like staff that they should contact, or access to like thinking about where they can find the information that might help, or different examples of policies that might be related, that might be coming up in other places. So I could see that being a really clear role at that place in terms of the being, you know, more of policy liaison than a general liaison, but really helping them to understand how they could help support policy making. So like that kind of clarity would be helpful. And that also might go toward the episodic nature too, I suppose, where it's kind of, you know, as needed as things are coming up and at specific times, when that will be the topic that the commission might need some feedback on, as opposed to some general meetings where they're kind of just taking care of the business or doing the work. So.
Yeah, similarly, when I was saying like guidance, I didn't necessarily mean like lobbying. I meant an information channel, information provider about where council is headed on policy or the history of maybe some legislation that we've passed, not being an advocate for any particular thing, but information being provided in terms of policy and process and the why maybe something has happened or occurred in the past, or what we're discussing in real time. Because I know, again, yeah, it can get gray otherwise, around what the role has been, can be, in the space. Hello, sorry.
Oh, you're good. A couple comments and a question. So to what Councilmember Simmons raised as far as, you know, liaison can help, you know, share the information to commissions when things come from council. We could also go into their meeting to communicate that. I went to the planning commission to also bring that information in, so they weren't like, what's going on? So it could be explained. So there's another pathway for that too. And then as far as commission engagement, just generally, I also want to bring up, I know it's in the further down in the agenda, but that the clerk's office has fronted the idea of having like a once annual gathering for commissioners to celebrate their work and also just to have more engagement. So that is, you know, another creative way we can think about doing engagement with commissions. And then my question is for the city attorney, and do you share the same concerns as the former attorney Barr did as far as the having
Well, I
the
can't
role?
really comment on something I haven't read. But I certainly can do that once I've read it. I also generally don't comment with legal advice in open meetings because of the privilege issues. But I do have my thoughts on those issues. I can certainly share with you privately too, if you'd like.
Okay, thank
Can I
you.
respond to that?
Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem.
Sure. So John Barr, you know, when new people came on to council, would have, you know, his hour and a half lecture, giving people, you know, it was the school of John Barr. And, you know, he would give a historical context to these things and especially this. And so, you know, he voiced concerns, about how these had happened in the past. And in that training session, he would caution people about what you could and couldn't say, and the difference between providing information on process versus stating your opinion about what the outcome should be. And I think it's a pretty easy line to draw. But you know, his concerns that he voiced over the years certainly came from people prior to me, you know, and I don't think there were any complaints since I've been on council, other than people just not showing up for their liaison role. But mostly this was, you know, a few people in the past that abused their privilege as a council person to try to demand commissions, you know, come to a certain conclusion. So. But I think it was the gist of most of the cautions that I heard from John Barr. So.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, same, so. Oh, Councilmember King?
Oh, I was just gonna ask, before Mayor Pro Tem stated that you all did have a conversation, who led that conversation about what the role was of
In council or with John Barr?
in council? I thought I heard you say it was a conversation regarding the role of the council liaison.
Who led it? I don't know who led, we had one as a group, I mean, I don't know. Who
Okay.
led it. I can't recall unless you. I don't know.
No, it was under the circumstances that new people had been appointed or elected and weren't clear on the role of the liaison. And so, you know, what was and wasn't expected, and they hadn't had that conversation with John at that point. And so it was an open conversation here about, you know, showing up is the first thing,
Yeah.
right? You know, it's just like you've signed up for those, show up. You know, those people on commissions, you know, have questions and want to know that council is interested in what's going on. And to a certain extent, I think that's a basic role, is just having presence. But it wasn't a particular, somehow it came up during
During a point, like when we were assigning people, that came up. It wasn't like an issue that was added to an agenda to say we're gonna discuss it and roll out, like write out rules. It was just, as folks were trying to decide what they wanted to be the liaison to, questions came up, and I think we just had a discussion about, you know, what the general expectations were. Because I've never seen a list, for instance, of rules or expectations for us as liaisons.
And yeah, that's what I was getting at. But I do have one more question that recently came up, and I do think it's in the engagement. Previously, when commissions wanted to have an event or a public forum, the city spaces were free to use. Is that still something that city spaces are free for, like the HRC and other commissions?
So it's an HRC sponsored thing,
Correct.
or, so it would be, and they would have to request that from council. They would pass a resolution requesting that they be able to hold an event at a certain space, and then council would authorize that.
And that has always been the process?
Never really had a
Oh.
commission ask before, but commissions all speak through resolutions to council. And council's the only body that can waive fees.
We feel good about number one, engagement? All right, next, communication?
Yes. Um, mainly added this because, you know, I'd served on the commission, the HRC from 2016 to 2019, and this was something that came up quite a bit where it was, you know, the public would ask about how to reach commissions and commissioners via email or otherwise. And I know that right now we have on our basically a staff coordinator, staff liaison for commissions. But I see that other municipalities actually have just an email address for a commission. So, you know, it'd be like hrc@cityofypsilanti.com. So we don't have that currently. And so I do think there's still kind of a communication gap between the public and commissioners. And I'm interested to see if others have thoughts about that as well.
I do, because I actually thought we did have that, so I'm surprised that we don't. Oh, we do have that. Okay, I know we had it. Yeah, we do. Okay. So Lori, can you talk about it a little bit? Like, thank you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like HRC as it's City of Ypsilanti, but I think it's actually written out Human Relations Commission. And so we've actually been working on it because that's how I contact everyone. I don't write in their names. It's actually that it goes to everyone. And some of them were saying that it wasn't reaching them, so we're doing like a test on it, but it's actually supposed to be. And for whatever reason, some people are receiving emails when it does it that way. I don't know if there's a block on their end or something. I really don't know. But I know for YPAC and I know for HRC, they do have an email.
And so is it posted on the boards and commissions website so that folks could know? So that's probably a part of
Yeah.
the problem too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think just then if we have those emails and they're functional, that they should be posted on each commission's website.
So-
I know I saw them.
So it's like you're saying it's like an email, like a group, so people email it and then what goes to each of the commissioners?
And it should also go to
If it
one of
goes-
you, like in the clerk's office too, correct?
Yes, and so currently on the commissioner pages, it has my contact, so they can email and then I
Mhm.
usually forward, but they have their own email, and so it'd be the same. If it works, as I'm saying, we've been testing it, trying to figure out why it's not working, but
Okay.
they do have emails.
And so, Councilmember Simmons, I think you were going on the line of like, if it's just a general question, is it going to every commissioner or is it going just into that email that you?
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether the email gets, if it's like kind of one, like I think about like a, you know, like a Google group,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everyone in the Google group
Gets
gets
the
the
message.
email when it goes out.
So everybody will get whatever is sent to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a group.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
So on the heels of the last conversation, making sure that the liaisons are on that. I've not gotten lots of agendas and things like that ahead of time in terms of planning commission and sustainability commission for a while. I would just add that to it. I think having an email address that people can write to and have direct access to all of the commissioners at the same time is great.
So I guess this one is in motion because you're trying to figure out what's wrong, and then they can be posted to the website, and then we would add whoever the liaisons are to that email as well.
If I may.
Oh, hello.
How you all doing? Good evening. So this is actually a question for Lori. I'm looking over the Police Advisory Commission group email, and we have Chair Mohammed, Vice Chair McCormick, Gail Wolkoff, Herman Humes. We have to add the other two commissioners, Monroe and C4.
Need to be updated.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all.
I'm using that email and that one too. Okay, so there. Okay. All right.
So I was just
Okay.
gonna say, this question did come up in our last meeting, and I believe Lori sent out a test, and I got it, and she was telling us that that is the email she has been using in the past. We just didn't know that, it was
What it was.
it was an email address.
And then this is more administrative, but we used to get like an update of like phone numbers, staff, emails and stuff in the past, like periodically to council, I remember, where like office numbers in the building. Could the commission emails be a part of that, like list tree?
So if you want, the clerk department does have a master list, which I believe Tracy provided that master list to council. It was a link.
So I don't even mean like individual emails. I just mean the group emails so that we
Oh,
know
yeah,
what
yeah.
each of them are. If we wanted to, like, if I wanted to ask a question, to a commission, so that we know what they are as well.
Yeah, we can put that on the internal directory.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Yep, that. Okay, thank you.
There's a word for that.
Yep,
I just had one more question. It's for Lori, and I was just wondering if we have an email address. I guess I'm just wondering, why was your email address the one that's posted on the HRC website? I'm wondering, is there a reasoning for that?
Well, I wasn't even in charge of the websites until just recently. And so I've started to go through and update, especially as I go to the meetings and people tell me things are missing. And so that's where I'm at with it. And so as you guys are bringing things to me, I'm updating and doing it. But I do plan us on the list. We have a lot of things that we're planning to redo. And each of the boards and commissions pages is part of it. And so like if you look right now, adding the vacancies, actually, putting some kind of header on there, the kind of vacancies that are available so people know, adding different links to each of the things as people tell me that they're wanting it or the commissioners are saying they want it, but that is definitely in the works. And adding the emails will definitely be added.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further in communication? Councilmember Simmons?
I guess one thing I was just thinking, so this was like communication of the public to the commission. And I'm just wondering, I'm just looking at this to think about whether we'll talk more about the communication of the commissions to council. Or if there's another spot that happens.
Yeah, separate.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I think it happened here. I mean,
Yeah.
that was kind of the engagement idea too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like this comes up like often. And I know there's been different kind of shifts in terms of when the commission sends things, how it shows up on the council agenda. And I know that, I guess this also gets more in terms of thinking about the clarity of what we want the roles of the commissions to be. And so, yeah, so I just think about, how council, how we think about how we send things to the commission, which can be a challenge. I know like the last time when we were trying to send to the Sustainability Commission to look at, kind of our lawn ordinances, and kind of related things about, to look into this issue and trying to think about what information we want to provide them. I want to check back in with them to see where they are and whether they feel like they had enough information to kind of move forward with that. But I'm just trying to think about how to have that feel like more smooth if we have a process for if we want to send things to a commission, here are the things that we need to give them so that they can actually do that work. And then also thinking about, the timeline and then how we would want that to come back to us. So how to make sure that things hit our agendas in a way for us to actually address it during our meetings.
Yeah, this has been, there have been times that very specific requests have been made of commissions, in terms of, with a checklist of these are the things we want you to talk about, things like that. There are other times that I've seen requests to commissions in which council really didn't have the expertise or the details at the time. And so it was just more of a, and it kind of got into this at the last planning commission with, you know, we gave some information, but it clearly sitting there as liaison and Commissioner, Councilmember Fellows was there as well. And so we were able to fill in the blanks on that, give them the context of what the conversation was here. But I think being as specific as we possibly can with those requests, we'll certainly facilitate that. But, you know, again, with the liaison there that was at the meeting here to kind of bridge that gap if there are any questions. So, but sometimes we just don't know the full breadth of what's going on. So, you know, but I think just the cautionary statement to be as specific as possible with those requests.
And then I think also typically the things that we're not experts on, we also direct it to staff and they can provide additional information to those boards or commissions about said topic for them to have something to work off of is what I would expect. And I think it's happened when we direct a topic, you know, to a board or commission, or commission, not board. Anything else in communication? All right. Now we're at representation.
Yes, I put this on here mostly to discuss the issue that's come up about ward balance. Because as I understand it, it's not a official policy. It's more been a suggestion, but I'm just seeing it kind of more and more referenced. Like it's on some of the boards and commission pages where it says we're looking for like a Ward 1 representative. And so I'm just wondering if that needs to be front facing, because since it's not actual policy and more of a guiding principle. I think that it is a good one to have to think about representation across the whole city, but our city is very small and our boards are even smaller. And sometimes we've had, you know, boards that can't even make quorum. So I don't want to discourage, you know, good candidates from applying. And, you know, the ward balance wouldn't be my first, my number one reason for choosing one candidate over another, but it would be a factor among many. So I'm just kind of curious where other people stand as far as like, I'm kind of on the sheet, even it says like this is supposed to be a Ward 2 or Ward 1 or Ward 1 appointment. All that said, I understand that our commissions are kind of heavy sometimes in certain wards, and really we need to just be engaging more people from Ward 1, clearly. But as far as like a policy goes, I'm wondering where others stand on that, because I think I'm just worried it will be used to like shut out some people from, you know, our very small population of potential candidates.
Thank you. Councilmember King?
I would say I definitely agree that we should have a similar amount of people from all three wards, just so we can have a balance of the community. One thing I would say that, because it didn't seem like it was priority, if it's listed on one or two commissions, if that's listed on all of the commissions, what area we're looking for representation from. That's the one thing I would ask.
100%.
Yeah, this is to answer the question. I think it's a good guiding principle. I don't think it should be used to exclude people when, you know, we just came up and in the last meeting with the planning commission. You know, the planning commission is heavily populated by people from Ward 2. It always has been, and that has been noted. And so when new people were being, you know, adding another person from Ward 2 was a concern. But given the length of time that vacancy had been there, it was important to fill that position. And I don't think it should be used as an exclusionary a strict policy to exclude people from the commissions. And sometimes you have expertise and people that are willing and that should be engaged. So, but as a guiding rule, we do want to have some balance. Mayor Bashert championed this one, and I remember sitting in this room with just the two of us. Nobody else showed up for the meeting to figure out where everybody lived and what the commission participation was for each ward. And so, that was not without its own particular set of consequences. But I think overall it's a good rule to work by.
Thank you. Further comments? Fellas, was that? Can't tell. So Councilmember Tucson is on Zoom. I did not know that. So I don't know when he wants to say anything. So please chime in if you want to say something. Councilmember Fellows, go ahead.
Yeah, I maybe as it's not, official policy at this time of council, I'm wondering about removing that from the commission websites where we're looking for Ward 1 applicants. Since it's not like this is a Ward 1 seat and this is a Ward 2 seat. It is a guiding principle, but we're not, I think we're getting too close to saying like, well, this seat is only for someone from Ward 1, this seat's only for someone from Ward 2.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yeah, I would support that, and especially because as those seats are vacated, it's not like these seats are being held for like, it has to be filled by someone from the ward that vacated it. So I do think that makes sense to have that be clear. And that could be something that as part of our discussion, as we are, looking at the candidates, that we can bring those forward. Because sometimes it might be, oh, this commission might be heavy in one ward, but then another one might be heavy in another ward, so it kind of might balance out across the board. And then also just thinking about the other things that we might consider in terms of experience, expertise, and things like that we might want to make sure is represented on each commission.
City Manager?
Just real quick in terms of ward balance, the Police Advisory Commission does have it in its enabling legislation, so it has to be balanced.
That one has to stay the way that it is. Okay.
Kind of thinking about the course of this, and so, I do think it's important to have at least one person from each ward on there. So it's like whether it's balanced or whether it's but having complete lack of representation for a ward, I see to be problematic.
Agreed. And I think it also lends to our responsibility as we're going out to try to help recruit people for boards and commissions, to keep that front of mind as our guiding principle as well. So it's a both and. Anything further here? Councilmember King?
I would say I would just really agree with you because, again, I know we talked about it in the past about HRC, and on our commission now, we have 4 members from Ward 3 and only 1 from the other 2 wards. And so I would agree that it is our job to make sure, and I know at past meetings, it was said that we are honoring that when we bring people forward. But to see 4 people from Ward 3 on HRC, I feel like we did not do our due diligence.
I think a part of it, has been difficult too, because there are times when some commissions, it's hard to find people who want to serve, and then some, there's a bunch of people who apply. And so I think it's very nuanced around that, but it is ultimately our responsibility to be out trying to recruit folks to participate as well, so that we can make sure that we find the balance that we're looking for in terms of opinion and experience and residents. So I agree with you.
And for me, I really wanted to bring that up because I remember around that time we also had Ward 1 citizens that did apply around this same time. So again, I would caution us all to make sure we are doing our due diligence when bringing people forward.
Well, I mean, I heard Councilmember Simmons support this, so I guess I would just raise this issue. So I'm looking at the Human Relations Commission website, and it says Human Relations Commission is seeking a commissioner for appointment from Ward 1 or 2 and 2 non-voting youth members. I think it could be the Human Relations Commission seeking commissioners, and it could say, like, you know, particularly from Ward 1 or 2, but I think if it's looking like we're only seeking that's a problem because it's not official policy.
Mhm.
That should be removed or amended.
Good, Laura? Okay. Thank you.
Lovely. I just recently added that. So.
All right, thank you. All right, let me make sure I'm writing it correctly. Appointment and voting eligibility?
Yes. This one I put on there because there has been debate over the years, and maybe this is the kind of thing we might just need to ask the attorney to look into and come back to us another date with some answers. But, you know, there's been debate as to who can be on a commission, and who can vote. And this has come up when I was on a commission when there was another commissioner who staff later found out was a resident but a non-elector because they were not a U.S. citizen. They were a citizen of Canada, had a green card in the U.S. And so staff then asked that commissioner to resign. And I'm wondering about that because, you know, these are advisory commissions, so are they held to the same state statutes around, you know, if they can vote or not based on their citizenship or elector status? And I think that my question about that is the same for the youth members too, because the youth members are considered non-voting members at this time, but I have the same question. If we're advisory bodies that don't have decision-making power, but merely suggest things to council, is it necessary for these non-electors to not be able to vote on decisions?
We've been told that folks have to be a qualified elector to serve on boards and commissions. So I don't know where that,
In here, I actually found the legal opinion, and so it's actually in here under this because Councilmember Tucson asked me previously about youth and how we could get them in there and the age requirement. Sorry. 25 or 16, the age requirement. This is actually the Attorney Barr's legal opinion on the age requirement, and he gives the reasoning of why it has to be at least 18 to vote and be an elector.
Which page?
But that is telling you that.
wait, which one?
Did you say page 25?
It's not 25 for us.
Booklet is page 16.
Oh, okay.
And it's the age requirement for all.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that is Attorney Barr's legal opinion.
Okay. The Ypsilanti Charter sets out the requirements to hold elective office, to be a qualified elector, blah, blah, blah. The city charter requires an elector to be a resident of the city and meet the requirements of state law. Michigan Constitution defines elector as being a citizen, 21 years of age, residing in the state for 6 months. But where does it?
The final.
Okay, I see. Yeah, here. Okay. The city gets all the powers from the state and lacks power to change the age of an elector to less than 18. Therefore, persons under age 18 may not hold legal city office. Persons under the age may not be elected city officer or voting members of boards or commissions, but may be appointed to be honorary members of boards and commissions with the right to attend meetings and debate, but not to make motions or vote.
I guess I would just ask for this to be reviewed again, since it's, again, this apply, you know, elected office, understandable, you know, but for advisory commissions, I'm just wondering if that is necessary.
That's all right. That's a potentially complicated question, but what I can say is the status of someone on a board or commission and eligibility for membership on a board or commission are established by ordinance. So if there's concerns about who qualifies, you can adjust the ordinance appropriately as long as that ordinance complies with state law. Just looking at this, actually, I don't think there's anything on here that, in terms of age requirement for office, I disagree with, in terms of that prior opinion. It's based on what I've observed through looking, preparing for today and looking for through the ordinances that establish those boards and commissions, respective ordinances anyway. Certainly, council is at liberty to change whatever it wants to change, so long as it complies with state law.
So would that comply to state law as far as advisory commissions not requiring electors?
Well, I mean, I probably have to look at some things in a little bit more detail without having that information just sitting here. I don't want to shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
Sure. And that's why I was saying maybe if it could be looked into, because this is something I've been curious about for years, because we're a young city, we skew very young, and we're also a city of immigrants. So we have like a lot of people that could potentially serve on commissions that are untapped, based on our current restrictions.
Well,
Yeah.
if collectively council wants me to look at a particular issue, they can make that request collectively, and I'm happy to look at that.
So moved. Can
Support.
As long as it's in detail, what exactly.
Right, I was like, we gotta state what
You can.
want to look at.
Yeah.
I understand what you're trying to do here, and
Yeah.
I get it, but when I'm asked to provide formal opinion, it has to be a detailed request, so that I can respond appropriately to each component of that request. That might not be something put together for today, without some extended discussion. I mean, you can do that.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that there's a couple of main pieces that we're looking at, which is whether an advisory board that is not a decision-making body, whether a person's status as being an elector, prohibits them from participation, from full participation. I see that there's different ways for people to be honorary. But I could see the thing about the legal status or voting status of folks, which I see the commissions as being actually a way for people to be able to engage. And I know this has come up a lot with our youth, for our youth members, which have a really hard time being recruiting for, and then also maintaining people in those spaces. And I think a part of that is kind of it being really kind of almost for show. I know people think that young people only care about getting experience, but yeah, a lot of times you actually want like full participation. And I think young people these days definitely would, with all the different commitments that they have. So yeah, I have been interested in, I know, youth members being able to participate fully on the commissions. And I definitely think that immigrants who don't have voting power, that this could be a great way for them to be able to participate when they're not able to hold elected office. So I think being able to see what that looks like. I don't know of kind of examples of what other municipalities do on this, or whether there's other ones that have kind of a different policy around this by ordinance. But it would be helpful, because then if we have to change our ordinance around that, that feels like something that council can take action on.
Councilmember Fellows, you were making a motion.
Motion is to request city attorney look into our ordinance as it relates to commission appointments and voting eligibility, to see, you know, if there's something in our ordinance that precludes residents who are non-electors from fully participating and voting. And if so, if that can be changed and be in accordance with state law.
Motion.
Support, this is the,
It's been supported. Discussion on the motion. Mayor Pro Tem?
So the extension here in the last part, section 7 on, from John Barr, is that he's collectively, all commissioners are elected, right? And that's the assumption here. So we elect
They're
them.
appointed. There's a standard for holding a public office, and
Mhm.
you're a commissioner is a public official. So, you know, without going into too much depth or giving a formal legal opinion at the table, which I can't.
No, it's fine. You know, the appointment
The
versus.
general rule is, in order to be a public official, you have to be an elector or qualified elector.
Mhm.
And that's a age-old court case. So that might partially answer Councilmember Fellow's question. But I can certainly elaborate on that in the research you've asked me to do.
Sure.
are city staff considered public officials?
Depends on the statute you read.
I mean, I'm just like wondering about like, because I'm thinking, well, what makes a person a public official? Is it that they're on the website and can be contacted if there's a need or a question, or if the community can go to you and expect that you will help determine some resources or answer questions, or that you might have access to maybe more information than the general lay public or anything like that? Because we don't require, right, we don't require our staff to be like able to vote.
We don't require them to be electors.
Yeah, we don't, so I'm just wondering about what, you know, because then that kind of gets a little, you know, as I'm still continually figuring out like whether I'm part of the city or not, you know, I think that's another kind of piece. So if our staff are considered to be in some way public officials or representing the city, which I'm told that they do, then I also can see the commissions being, you know, in some ways a lot less formal even than our staff roles would be, right? So that might be something to think about in terms of what does public official mean? Because especially when they don't have any decision-making power, like our staff have decision-making power within their different roles and departments. Council has decision-making power granted to us by the public and by ordinance. The advisory commissions have the power to assemble, study, and give information to council.
City Manager?
Other than the pool, which we don't do the hiring for that, we just provide the HR and payroll for the pool employees. All of our employees have to be 18 and you have to be a US resident in order to qualify for employment here.
But you have to
You have to be a US resident to work for the city.
A elector just means you're of age and you are a citizen. It doesn't mean that you have to be elector of the city. We have non-residents that are on the boards and commissions with voting rights. So we are all electors.
But you're saying you have to be a citizen of the country to work for the city. You can't be an
Not necessarily,
immigrant.
you just have to be someone who is lawfully employable in the United States.
Yeah, so
Oh,
that's
oh,
not
so-
correct.
So,
That would
Mhm.
be illegal and discriminatory, so,
Correct.
yeah.
so you get the lawyer's favorite answer, it depends.
I know, I just looked
I
up.
mean, I recognize that you have to be required, that you have to be eligible to work.
You don't have to be a
But-
citizen. No.
Well, that's why I was just like
That would be illegal.
questioning that. Yeah.
So certain
Hopefully that's
appointed
not-
positions, you have to comply with state law regarding eligibility. Other appointed positions, you can tweak those a little bit by establishing eligibility standards by ordinance,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to non-voting members of a commission or non-resident electors of the city being voting members of commissions. You can do that. There's additional rules. Won't go into those because it'll take too long. Again, it depends. What is a public official? Well, state law actually defines what a public official is. And they do that significantly in the context of, frankly, the misconduct in office statute. Which everybody, for the most part in this room, is held to that standard, or at least at this dais is held in that standard. Again, I can give some detail as requested by council as a whole, but at the table you get the "it depends," which is the lawyer's favorite one.
Councilmember Fellows?
Yeah, I just want to say on record that non-US citizens are eligible to apply to staff roles in the city of Ypsilanti. So you have to be eligible as a worker, of course, but that would be discriminatory to not be open to all eligible residents or all eligible workforce. So just saying that publicly. And then I just wanted it to be looked into, that's all. So just for further discussion at a later time.
I did like just kind of do some quick Googling and like for a couple different cities, and many of them don't actually have their eligibility requirements posted publicly, which I think is super interesting. But because we do, but at the state level, they do have it posted. If you want to be a member of a commission, what they expect, and each commissioner shall, the first thing is be registered and eligible to vote for, of course, within the state of Michigan for a state level seat. And then it gives the MCL code stuff in there. So, I mean, I'm sure it's gray because all legalese is gray. So.
And we don't even require, we ask the question about whether they're registered to vote, but people can say no and have been appointed to commissions too. So we don't even have that strong of a requirement for that.
I can't even speak to that. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying,
I
like,
don't know.
we've had some people, because I remember bringing it forward, because I was like, well, I encourage people to be, I would encourage folks on commissions to be registered if they're able to be, as they are, connected with providing council guidance toward policy, but that isn't a requirement. And so I know that is a question that's on our form.
Okay. Next is transparency.
Well, I think there was a motion.
Oh, shoot, there was. I'm sorry. All right. If there's no further discussion on the motion to send this to the attorney to look into, please call the roll. My bad.
Councilmember Fellows,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen.
Sure.
Oh, yes, I'm here too. It's okay. I don't count.
We were talking about that before you got here, about whether people count as quorum.
Oh.
And council, just for the record, I apologize. I misspoke when describing that.
Thank you. Transparency. Which one?
Transparency, the last one I added, and maybe there's not much to discuss. I was more just wondering if there's continuity between the policies because I know that some commissions have been changed via as far as like being required or not to follow OMA standards. But more so, I noticed like on our YouTube that some commission videos are posted and some are not. So I don't know if that's something that we need to change, or if it's by request, or I'm just kind of curious about staff's information on that.
Thanks, Lori.
Okay. I think I have to hold this down.
Nope, you don't.
I think you just turned it off.
Yes, it's on.
Okay.
Can you hear me? This
Yeah.
seems like it is. All right. In the packet on page 27 on 14, by ordinance, these are the 7 ones that are required to be by our current ordinance to adhere to the OMA.
What page was
What
that?
page?
27.
In the packet. What about in the this thingy? Just the
That is what I'm talking
oh
about.
14?
Yes.
Oh. No.
It's in 36 in the packet, 27 in the book.
27. Okay, sorry. Thank you. No, it's okay.
Okay, and so then there's the note. This note again is from Attorney Barr, which is saying the Michigan Meetings Act only applies to public bodies. Public bodies means any state or local legislature, governing body, including a board, commission, committee, subcommittee, authority, or council that is empowered by state constitution, statute, charter, ordinance, resolution, or rule to exercise government proprietary authority or perform a governmental proprietary function. It does not apply to merely advisory boards. These, other than the ones I've said above, that it's actually in the ordinance still requiring it. However, as a best practice, the city attorney and the city attorney bar before was requiring that all of them adhere to the Open Meeting Act, which does not actually include videos. It was about having, have it public, have it posted, having it open, having the minutes. And, but we do try to do the videos and have them available upon request. And then we also, at times, it's not, I think, required, but we do post them to YouTube. And I'm not sure all the staff liaisons. I mean, I can only say for the 2 I'm for.
City manager?
When we first started recording, it was just the city council that was on there, and now I believe the other 2 have requested it. So I believe it is by request. If a board or commission would like to have it done, they can request to do so.
And those 2 are right now YPAC and HRC.
Those are ones I do and I know of. There might be there. I don't know.
Councilmember Simmons?
Yeah, I mean, this is helpful. I know that I feel like for the sustainability, it was I'm trying to remember, like, I feel like there was something where it wasn't, or it was only for a short time, or like the recording was mainly for note-taking purposes, but then not posted. And then also just thinking about commissions that don't necessarily meet in this space. So like what happens for those? So like I know the one like non-motorized commission I went to. I mean, this was obviously a long time ago because it was in the library. So that probably dates it by a bit. But anyway, I wondered just, like what happens for those. But so then really the ones that are on this list are required to at least have their minutes posted more. I mean, I know the commissions all try to put minutes up, but that it's more of a requirement because of OMA for that. Or is that
Yes, I actually wanted to add something that I realized I didn't include. There was a complaint filed against HRC for not adhering to the Open Meetings Act, and the city attorney at that time said that they're not don't have to because it's a best practice. So we're not being sued if we don't adhere to the OMA. I know it's not exactly what you're saying. I just want to add that so you're realizing why they're kind of removing that So while we may as a group say that we want it to be able to view it, and the OMA is being able to open Zoom where people can see it, and then having the minutes later to know what's happening, not necessarily have a video.
Mm-hmm.
So we do it and have them available upon request,
Thank you.
most.
Yeah.
And if I can only add, there's, I believe Parks and Arts is one, there might be more commissions that specifically are excluded by ordinance from requirements under the OMA, but again, those are generally best practices anyway.
City manager?
Yeah, the ordinance that required it for Parks and Arts, I believe, had the OMA removed from it, but I could be incorrect.
Mhm.
But
It did.
the policy, when this change happened, council did approve a set of rules which mirrored what the Open Meetings Act was. It just gave them a little bit more flexibility in terms of needing to be present in order to make quorum and other issues like that. But there are rules that require the same things that OMA does.
So ultimately, in terms of like the video piece, that is in addition to what is required even by OMA, the posting of these videos on YouTube for people to see after it. Okay. And so I guess my question to council would be then, is that where this conversation is headed around the expectation of everyone's being recorded and posted for transparency purposes? Because I think something that Councilmember Simmons brought up is that also everybody doesn't meet in here. And so there's technology here that makes it easy to do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that is going to be a possibility for everybody. Not everybody, but everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to include that
Mhm.
the Open Meetings Act handbook is actually in the packet, page 59. And so it is here for us to know.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. Councilmember Fellows?
I added this mostly just to raise the issue and of transparency since we're talking about commissions, and I think it's important. But it seems like the standard right now is videos based on request. And I know we don't have like a lot of views on some of our videos, so it's. But I do watch the videos frequently, so I am interested in where I'm like, oh, some of the commission's videos are up and some of them aren't, and I'm just kind of wondering about it. But if we're not getting pressure from public or from us to put every video online, then maybe that's not necessary, but just something to note as it could come up in the future.
Further on transparency? Okie dokie. All right, and now we're back to letter A, right? The Master Boards and Commission membership list. Is there a discussion? Yes, Lori.
Just so you guys, when you're reading it, this side of it is obviously alphabetical order for all the commissions, and then it has the members, their address. I gave you, this is, I know we emailed you, or in the packet is a redacted, this has got the actual people. But also I would like to start sending you guys this every time it updates, if you'd like it, maybe once a month, and that would do the notice requirement. And so that you guys know. But on the right-hand side, when you go to any of the commission, there's this box, and this is just like a little blurb for quick on membership requirements, terms, OMA requirements from, if you look in the blue box above it, going from left to right is the governing power. So I'd have maybe the charter or the state legislature, then the ordinance going, so you kind of, so when you receive the email with this link and you open it, you could actually click and just go straight to each of those for each of the ones. But for convenience, I just did a little blurb. Okay, I'm not saying it's perfect. It's just meant to be able to kind of get an idea of what's going on. In the top two inside the title of the name also says the members, but also there will say the terms there as well. If it's in red, that means they're probably going to be expiring this year. And also about the words balancing, I was understanding that was something that you all wanted. And so that's why, so like if you look under Human Relations Commissions, I have a couple of marks because we're 3 heavy. And that was why we were trying to get more.
Mhm.
And that was why. On the second. Oh,
Yeah, are there questions on this document? I love the detail. I appreciate it. And especially if we're getting it electronically, that'd be great.
right, because the font is so small.
Yeah.
It's the biggest piece
Yeah,
of
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
the screen. It actually looks really nice and it's easy to follow.
Mhm.
And I really think it'll be helpful. And you all will know who's vacant, what's needed as it's happening, even before the vacancy.
I do have a question. For the Huron River Watershed Council, it says that there's a representative and an alternate. And I couldn't find the guiding legislation or document either on our website or on HRWC's. And so my understanding was that this is based on population. So I look at other, like Ann Arbor has three people on the council, and so I don't know where that comes from in terms of, the guiding document for that. What is that?
So again, going into the blue, once you have it live, it'll be easier because you'll be able to click it. Here's the Michigan law on it, and the Act 451 of 1994. And then they have their bylaws. And so if they were someone that like, they're not managed by us. I contacted all of these representatives and asked them for their bylaws and included them. So either it's in the act or it's in the bylaw. So if I put it in this box, it came up in that blue.
Somebody, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Simmons, sorry.
So I have just a couple of questions or clarifications. One, let's see here. For instance, when I go to, okay. All right, well, I was just looking at Parks and Arts as an example. And I'm just looking at, for instance, like the terms, and some of them seem like just like a little wonky to me, like the Chair McAtee. It says his most recent appointment was in 2021, and then it expires in 2027, which is more than the 3-year term, if I'm able to still do math. And which, but then I see here Commissioner Bo Abra is a most recent appointment 2024 and expiration 2025, so this is actually less than even one full year for their first appointment. And so I guess I'm just trying to figure out kind of what's going on. I see a couple of these, like one that's 2 years. Commissioner Merlos, 2025 to 27. That one feels like some of the things, I'll just say messing around that has been happening, but that like Aberbo, like that one seems really far off. And these other ones that are much longer than 3 years.
Manager, you had your hand up for that?
So the appointment terms of those less than a 3-year, they were appointed into a term that was halfway through. So once they get to that point, they can be reappointed for 3 years, finishing a term. And then I believe the other person, they carried their terms over from Arts, and I think that they were approved again as Arts and Parks. So then that's kind of where that came from.
And so, to interject, this is where I think the consistent point that Councilmember McLean has been making about how we do reappointments and new appointments if someone resigns. And he did send in the email that I'm looking at, that was one of the things that he wanted to come up tonight, even though he couldn't be here, because I agree that these terms should stagger the same way like a council seat would be staggered. If someone resigns, and someone should be appointed to fulfill the remainder of that term, not a brand new term. And I think that's why these boards and commission terms are all over the place, because some kind of like what city manager said with Abra was filled to complete the term, while others get appointed and get a whole new set of years, even though it's filling a vacated seat that was in the middle of a term. And so now we have all these wonky years on.
Yeah, and then also it's like whether people, when they're applying for an appointment, like, it's not like they're like, oh, let me, you know. Cause I think from that experience, like that might seem a little funky, you know, and then to have to go through it, cause it's not like they automatically get to go. It's like, oh, we actually are then asking them to fill out an application again for, for that. So I think that that seems strange to kind of hold people to that in that way, but that's one thing. I think the other thing that I would wonder then is I would guess that we would then have to require almost that that we make them commission seats. Like this is seat 1, seat 2,
That's what
and
he
that we're
wants.
then
That's what Councilmember McLean wants.
so then we're only recruiting for seat 3, which is only a 2-year term, you know? And so that we would have to have a lot more clarity about that. People, we need to know, I'm on planning commission seat 3, you know, and then know what that term is. And then that would be what would need to be on the site so that when people are then appointed, that they're not confused. Because I will tell you, me personally, I would forget that math. Like I would just expect that I have 3 years.
Well, I agree about the clarity, but I also like I serve on other boards that is the way that it is situated, and it's not necessarily my responsibility to remember it all the time. It's whoever is like leading that will tell me like, okay, you're being appointed to a 3-year term for X amount of time,
Mhm.
or you're backfilling a vacated seat that's only 2 years. Like that information is given to me instead of me having to track it.
Mhm.
And so I think it is our responsibility to maybe figure out how do we clean this up and how do we want it to look? Because again, that's not the way we're doing it now. It may not be how we end up doing it, but if what's going to make the most sense to make this make sense? Because I do think it is strange when someone vacates a seat that maybe there was a year left and they get appointed for a new 3 years, and then all like everything is all over the place.
Mhm.
And that has caused some confusion around the expectation for folks
Mhm.
on these bodies too.
Because I'm also seeing, for instance, in the planning commission, Brian Jones Chance, 2022 and expires 2027 for a 3-year term. And that one didn't go through the same kind of situation with Parks and Arts. So,
There are already mistakes in this too, as
so
well.
then I think
Like,
for some of these where where their terms are longer than expected, I think that we should write that so that we can get those together so that we don't have people in terms that are longer than the expected term, whether it's 3 or 2. I think we should just, I don't know if we have to do this by motion to actually make sure that it actually adds up, you know, to that term. I think we should do that. And then, yeah, and then if we go from there, then I think that, again, we would just need each of those, everybody's seat to basically become a numbered seat. So then it would be clear what they would be holding. So even if they become chair or vice chair, that they're still holding seat 3 or seat 4 with those roles so that, you know, those things kind of travel along with it.
and that's the other piece around like the governing language that Lori was sharing with us. So for instance, if you look at planning commission, there is an expectation of staggering for that particular commission.
Mhm.
And so that matters too, depending on what.
And a couple of them have that.
Yeah.
If you, on 18 in the packet, the clerk did recommend, she said over at Dearborn, that they have, they end on a specific date. And then, if anybody else was, appointed for the vacancy, they would only serve the vacancy. And, one thing about was the term, it is on their oath of office. It does have it too. And, I just sent this to, all the staff liaisons yesterday. And so no one has seen this because I was waiting for you all to look at it and have some opinion so we know. So there's nothing has been corrected by the staff liaisons other than I did my own for my two. So, but definitely can investigate that. The other stuff, like as far as the first appointment and most recent appointment, I actually kind of inherited those dates. Yeah,
Some of them are incorrect because they were
Right.
already incorrect, like.
right,
Yeah.
right. The next expiration though, but there's a couple you can see that end all at the same time, like the ones that end, human relations all is in July. I think, look, historic districts all in December, they end, and Parks and Arts all in July, planning all in May. And so I think that the clerk's recommendation was if we had it like that every month, a whole group, but I like yours because you'd make sure maybe getting more balance too. Whatever you want.
I guess. So there are some, like we said, that already have the staggering in their language. For those that aren't, if we wanted to move to a seat model or some type of staggering, then we would have to change the ordinances for that. City manager or attorney? That I'm asking because I don't know. And
So you're talking about the,
like if there are some that already have this model where there are some folks on there that have a 3-year term and a 2-year term and a 1 to make sure there's staggered rotation. For the bodies that don't have that as a part of their language, governing language, would that require changes to overall like commission, the ordinance changes to add like seats that, 3 seats will be 3 terms, or is that resolution?
yeah, I would not think that would need to go through an ordinance amendment. That could just be a policy that council can set by resolution.
And
Unless the ordinance itself establishes specific terms, lengths of terms.
Right, and there are some that already have
staggering.
that. Like there are some that have it. I'm talking about the ones that don't.
right, and I think
Yeah.
that's why planning commission has it.
Yeah, because it's in their ordinance. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to change those. I want to keep those.
No, and in general, I think the and it seemed like an oxymoron, but staggered and synchronized makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's just like you have a rotation, just as council has, rotation, and staggered, but, no, I think shoring that up would be great. I mean, that it relieves, the ongoing administration by staff. Sure.
What does staggered and synchronized look like? Like, what is the model that, because I think I missed a piece.
So for instance, for the planning commission, the terms are as such. So members of the planning commission shall be appointed for 3-year terms. However, of the members of the planning commission first appointed, a number shall be appointed to 1 or 2-year terms such that as nearly as possible, the terms of 1/3 of the planning commissions will expire each year. So there'll be, how many are on here? 9. So like this year, 3 would expire, next year, 3 would expire, the next year, the last 3 would expire, and it would rotate in that way.
But all on the same date.
But all on the
that
same
year.
date, but each year.
I
3 more.
see. But everyone has 3-year terms.
Yes, but everybody has 3-year terms that are staggered, so you're not losing everybody at once, ever.
Uh-huh.
Just for the planning.
That's just, yeah,
not
that's
all
just them.
terms.
Yeah,
Understood.
they're just the best example that I have, because I know that's what they do.
I was gonna say, a lot of times I know when there's like for different boards I've been on, it's been tied to fiscal year when the turnover happens. So I wonder, as opposed to like some of these different months, whether it's the same thing, like, that our commission, the terms are, turnover in July as our fiscal year does.
I think that, well, I guess.
That would be kind of a tough lift on the clerk department to have to do everyone's reappointment at the same time,
I was gonna say. I
or
think
at least a
that's like
third of them.
Yeah, I think that's why the clerk was
Mhm.
recommending like a monthly.
Different
equal half
months.
their month
Okay.
that
Mhm.
would be
Uh-huh.
done in staggered.
I
So they'd be
see.
staggered,
Mhm.
so this year would be 2.
Mhm.
And I mean, word balance, I mean, some of them, some of them actually have the requirement that it has to be like the historic district, they have to live in the historic district.
Mhm.
But if you wanted to do that, you could also say balancing it by wards or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
practical or whatever.
Okay.
This year will be a heavy lift. There's a lot going on then.
Yeah.
I'd like to also add in this box, some of them you'll see, I highlighted it, must be a qualified elector of the local unit of government. Some require that the people actually be able to vote. And so that would answer for some, at least some of them, why they don't have youth.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
that's understood.
Yeah.
Something that came up when I talked to Clerk Boudreau was just merely the end date. I'm sorry if you all have already talked about this, but that it would end at the end of the month instead of a random date in the month. And she said even that change would make it easier. So that, you know, you're not like,
On the 17th,
right.
when there's a meeting on
The
the 18th, and there's nobody to fill this.
It would be more looking at whose terms end at the end of this month.
Mhm.
And so I'm not sure that if that's more of a lift, less of a lift than what else has been suggested, but I would, the only thing I would be worried about is like what was brought up, whereas people are serving kind of random, you know, 1-year terms or something when they really could have a full term. So I'm supportive of whatever solution seems to be the easiest for the clerk's department and would make it so commissioners can serve full terms.
Mhm.
I support that because I see that like the first of the month is on a lot of them too, but the end of the month staggered and whatever, and Tracy's suggestion of different months for different bodies so that it doesn't become.
For the month, and also, just like for city council of like filling a vacancy, so if someone leaves, that's in the end of it. But also, I would think that you all could also, if you had a qualified person, that you could say, we're gonna give you the next term and allow you to finish that term, and then
Yeah.
and then I would note it. This is obviously the copy for the public, but we have another column that has our notes that we're keeping of things that are, you know, in the works.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would, yeah, I think that would work for me.
So wait, so just, oh, I'm sorry. Were you about to ask something to this?
It's a slight departure, but really.
Okay, can I just confirm, so are you suggesting that as an example, in the example for Aberbo, who's got less than a year term that they're finishing? So that, you know, when they apply, if we know, okay, this term is finishing out this, but that in the appointment, council can say that we want to appoint you to complete this term as well as for the next term. So that then it's that you have a full term, you're completing this for the full term, and that then that would be noted in here that even though, you know, they're appointed at this, but then their expiration might be 4 years for that reason.
Is there a minimum time for that?
Except for the YPAC
Planning.
and plan, a couple have.
Yeah,
have-
those requirements.
They have other little requirements where they can't serve multiple terms and things like that. Again, I added it. And so I know it's not uniform. None of the words are uniform, but
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay, that's helpful, because I was gonna say also that this also, depending on, you know, as long, if there's like different, when you think about like term limits or things like that, which, you know, then that gets a little bit more messy too, in terms of partial terms and full terms. So,
Yeah, and I think Steve just brought it. Yeah, what would be the time limit or time frame for that? Would it be if it's less than a year? Because that would be important to know too. And when we were trying to make that decision about extending to like another full term on top of the filling the vacancy.
different ordinances, it had the vacancy as though it was finishing the term and then 3 years, using 3 years example.
Right, but what if someone's filling a vacancy that's the 2 years out of the 3, right? Do they automatically get the 5 years, or are we saying we would make a decision just based on what we want for whoever it is individually? See, man, I saw your hand. I know my problem.
Oh, I was touching my face, but
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my peripheral. Okay.
Give input?
yeah, I know in a lot of the ordinances, there is the language that, especially those with term limits, is you can fill an unfinished term and then have those 2 terms. So that language is in some of the
Okay.
ordinances. But yeah, I mean, council would have to make that decision if you want to just, appoint them for this term and then the following term. Or how council would like to do that, assuming that, it's within the confines of the law.
And I mean, and could that just be whoever is bringing forward the appointment could say, this person, I'm bringing this forward for the remainder and the other one, and then get the support, and we talk about it at the table. I mean, I guess we don't have to write a rule about everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's what really, it's at the will of council.
I mean, I think as long as we know that information, and I know that as there's been focus on this, I've appreciated like, that's like, hey, this person applied, here's the information, like right there. So I've appreciated that. I've been noting that. So I think as long as that information's included, then that helps us, when we look to bring someone to the table.
Just want to read that the clerk did recommend the council legislate all other term expiration dates to be a specific date. I just want to put that on record that she did, say that's how to.
Councilmember Fellows?
Yeah, maybe. So if I don't know if it needs to be a motion or not, but just like, all appointments from here on out start on like the first of the month. Cause I see like some of these start on the first of the month, some start at the end of the month. First of the month might make more sense just because some months are 28 days, some are 31 days. I don't know. So it might just be easier to track that way. So, do we need to motion for that, or should we?
Because we should have a caveat though, unless they're feeling
Yeah,
like
I think we'd have to research it to be
yeah.
able to know exactly what boards,
Mhm.
that what allow it.
That's true, because some of them do have their own
Right.
rules. And also, we just talked about if someone were to vacate their seat in the middle of a term, they may need that body at the next meeting, which might be before the first of the next month. So that type of stuff needs to be
So
teased
there's a
out
few that
too.
have dates, like there's the one that has it from January 1st to 12/31.
Mhm.
And so there's some we can't change. I mean, so I guess we're exceptions again. Now we're back into the gray, but
So can you take kind of what we talked about and maybe bring something to us?
Yeah.
In resolution form around the consensus of this conversation?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you got it? 'Cause I know we've been saying a lot of stuff.
well, how I put it together and I'll give
Send it out.
to Clark,
Okay.
and then y'all can fine tune it and tell me what I'm missing.
Yep. Councilmember King, I saw your hand.
Oh, I still haven't gotten back.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilmember King.
So there are provisions for extending people beyond their expiration date. And I know this has come up for HRC when Councilmember Fellows was on that. And so clarifying what that provision is and if that's across the board for boards and commissions or if that is specific to each board and commission. So there was a provision that you could extend, that council can extend an expiring term if there's nobody available to fill that term for up to, I think, 60 days. So could you look into that and bring that information back too if it's not here?
It's in the packet.
Yep.
On page 17 of the pack, of the 26 of the packet, 17 of the booklet, number 6, terms of office. A, B, and C. And then if you go down to vacancy or pending vacancy is some.
Oh, yeah, letter B.
So this was a resolution that was brought forward in 2024, and so that's what, you're probably remembering it.
No, this is much older than that.
That situation happened before.
Mhm.
I do believe that's in the charter, so it would be for all bodies, but I have it up now, so I'll just take a look and if you wanna.
Members of council and appointee may continue provisionally in office after the expiration of their term
Mhm.
until a successor has been elected or appointed. So then that would mean, see,
Maybe it's not by charter because it says here that the planning commission by ordinance shall hold office until a successor is appointed.
Yes, I added that, the resolution 2024-2063, that's the language. But when I was actually reading the ordinances, that was there, so I added it as an exception.
That one's specific to planning commission. Yeah, they have all,
Yeah, that's from the Planning Enabling Act.
Councilmember King had her hand up.
I just wanted to clarify, are we saying anybody that applies for a term that gets appointed to a term that's almost over, we as a council will individually choose, or will all people get the chance to roll over into that next term?
It would be up to council, because the thing I was thinking about is, yeah, that person has to want that too, right? They may be applying because they only want to fill, they want to
Mhm.
test it out and fill in 1 year. And so I wouldn't want to have someone beholden to a 5-year term now that they weren't sure they wanted. I
And
think we can make it that way, like permanent.
so we would do that by person, not
That
just,
situation.
okay.
Technically over our time.
Was this is a 7 to 9 meeting? Oh, I just thought it was 7 to 10. Like, okay, well,
So for me,
So do we need to extend?
yeah.
Motion to
Motion to
extend till 10:30.
10:30. No,
No.
I vote no on that. Sorry.
Motion to extend till 10.
I'll support that.
All in favor of extending until 10?
Yes.
I'm sorry. No.
I'm just stating that for me, I don't agree with that, because I know sometimes in the past, people have been appointed. And if we're saying that that would be for everybody, even though I heard us just say it would be by situation, but what if it's not a perfect fit? So for me, I would say no, I would not agree with that.
What do you mean by perfect fit?
What if it's not a fit? Not perfect, but a fit.
Fit of what? What's the criteria for the fit?
A fit of the commission. What if one of my questions that I have wrote down is making sure that the commissioner that is appointed to a commission, that their goals align and their mission align with that commission. So what if it's not a fit in that way, that maybe their goals and their mission being on that commission is not, it's not working?
So that, unfortunately, we can't base it on that because we each have a vote. So you just vote on if you want that person to be on the commission or not. And that's decided as the body by our vote. Unfortunately, we can't do that.
I suggest maybe like if a term, say there's so many months left, that, and we let you guys, the staff lets you know that there's 6 months left, and then they're gonna be a new 3 years. And you have someone that you could have both. You could do it twice, vote for them to finish that term and then see if they're wanting a new term. And then that way you'd have a vote, like you're like, you know what, this person can finish the 6 months, but I'm not sure about them for the next 3 years. And then they would have to reapply, and maybe they reapply anyway.
But why would we be?
And then reapply, and then you give them the next true term.
So why would we be saying I'm not sure about them for the next 3 years? Yeah, that's what she just said. So I'm just repeating, and it sounds similar to what I said. That's why I'm asking, what does that mean?
That's what she was saying, that based on what you said, that could be a remedy to that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry I just found the answer to that. It is in the Code of Ordinances, but it's under boards and commissions, so it would apply to all bodies.
And also, just why I have the floor, I would say Jennifer St. John is no longer on HRC, correct? Okay, because her name is still on here.
Big paper.
Literally.
Oh, there's a reason. She actually isn't moving until the end of June, and so she's gonna attend the March 25th meeting, and then she won't be attending anymore. But she hasn't actually moved yet. She was just letting us know that she's going to be moving and resigning, but she's not resigning, and she would like to attend that last meeting, and then she'll be gone. But she is still a resident.
So she has not.
She has not moved. She's not moving till the end of June, but she's still resigning in advance.
Resigning in advance?
Well, she's letting us know that before she actually moves away, she's gonna go ahead and resign.
So the reason why I'm asking is, did she resign? Or did she just alert you all that she will be moving? Because that's two
No,
different.
no, she resigned. She
Oh.
is moving away. And
Okay, so I need feedback, because if somebody resigns, they resign, I thought.
But there's an
It's over,
effective
it's
date on
over.
her resignation.
Oh, so she put an, I don't, that's what I'm asking, I guess. She put an effective date, okay.
Did she? I can't.
3/25. The date on here, where beside her name,
Mhm.
that's when she was gonna say her last day was.
Oh, okay,
She's resigning effective 3/25, I believe
it.
it is off the top of my head.
okay.
And yes.
Sorry, we just had a similar situation with the DDA, so I just, yeah, I'm like, it's
Okay,
like
yeah,
clear.
her last day is of March 25th, which is she wanted to attend the meeting, but
Gotcha.
she resigned effective that day, but she did not become ineligible because she actually has not moved yet.
Okay.
But she does not want to continue until she actually moves because she has a lot on her
Yeah,
plate.
that makes sense. Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Simmons.
So another thing I just was noting in here, and I have a question around, is just our Board of Ethics, which I think did we just see somebody apply for that? But
Yes.
um but I'm just wondering, because I was like, oh, annual report required. Obviously, we don't have one for that. And obviously the Board of Ethics shall meet no less than once a year. Even when there were people on the board, I wonder if they were meeting. Um, and so I just wonder kind of what role, like what the city can expect for not having this commission filled with these expectations, especially because I know it is in our charter too, that we have this.
City manager.
So when the Board of Ethics, when it was last up and running, they were meeting every twice a year, except as if a complaint came in, then they would have a special meeting. This is, it is in the charter, but the council would just have to, nominate those 5 people, and then it's a one-term thing. So you could probably stagger those terms, and then one person that just got a 5, and then the other people, you do it like that, so. But right now, yeah, there is effectively no Board of Ethics.
Lori.
So in the interim, any ethics complaints would come to city council.
Once you have the link, the very last one says meets as needed. That's actually a link to a resolution that has, and the ones, that's not the only one that has it. There's a few that was changed to only meets as needed. I can look, click, but when it's easier when you see it. The meets as needed is Economic Development Corp. The Boards of Ethics. The Fire Civil Service Commission. That's it. But when you have it in front of you, you'll actually be able to click it and see it.
Yeah, I'm on it right now, actually. Do you have further comment, Councilmember Simmons? Mayor Pro Tem?
The Board of Ethics, as far as I know, so there are a few boards that have term limits, and this is the one that only has one. Does that, is it possible to change that? It'd have to be an ordinance change to do that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be an ordinance
'Cause
change.
I have somebody who's interested, but they served on it years ago, and so it's not consecutive terms, but it's been several years since this person's been on.
Yeah. So for everyone, it says that no person shall serve more than one full 5-year term.
So this might be a little different. And you got 9.01C in the charter, and it says shall provide for one term of 5 years staggered.
But it also.
So then if a person is being assigned to a term this way, this is 1 year, 2, so if a person's being assigned to the 3-year seat, that means they could also be appointed to a 2-year seat to get a full
Well, no,
5
they would,
years.
because it still allows them to finish to the unexpired term, so they would finish the unexpired term and then
Could be
a
eligible.
5-year term.
But it.
Well, I
when
mean,
it
but
call
this
for-
says first 5 persons shall be appointed to the board for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it wouldn't necessarily be an unfinished term, because there's 0, that's
Well, yeah,
basically what we're gonna be doing.
Now you would not have to do that. You would just do staggered terms, and those that didn't have a complete 5 years would be able to be again appointed.
Right, so the 5 we picked, there'd be somebody for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yep.
and then they'd be eligible, except for the person who did 5 for another term. Yes, because B says no person shall serve more than 1 full 5-year term. Except the exception with the staggered piece, because I'm in Municode right now. Councilmember Fellows?
With regard to Ethics Commission, there was a recent applicant, and I also hopefully recruiting one person. So maybe if we all recruited one person, we could fill this commission.
This board does require no more than 3 members of the board are under the same political party, so it has to be mixed
Oh.
up.
We don't ask for a political party on our
do.
application, do we?
We do. Only for ethics. Yeah, they don't have to fill it out for anything else.
Oh, it's on there? Oh, okay, okay. Interesting.
Well-
Is no political affiliation
The last time it was, and they were using independent, so.
If there's no political affiliation?
Yeah, it mentions it in the ordinance. They're not affiliated.
Oh.
Well, the ethics ordinance also requires that no more than 3 members of a certain political party be on the commission,
Yeah, that's in
That's
the,
what,
that's
that's
in
what
the
you just said,
charter.
yeah.
noted?
or the charters, yes.
And then, there's a lot in this one, actually. I need to read this again, because it's talking about.
What's the minimum number
what
for
I have to
the
do.
ethics?
You know what? I don't see this. Let's see.
5. We need
It-
5.
It's 5. That it should consist of 5 members. So they're defunct until there's 5 people, no matter what.
Yes.
All right, we got work to do.
They were meeting just twice a year, might not be, that means 6 months to come up with 5 members and have their meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we're still on letter A. So, but I mean, I guess we're talking about B.
All of
as
these.
all these different things. We're all talking about them at the same time, so. So board and commission vacancies, we have been looking at that. Is there further comments or any questions that folks have or anything, Laura, you want to share with us about that?
Yes, and so if you're confused about why there would be the vacancies, I did not just true vacant, but pending vacant. Like the person was going to be expiring and I did it by quarters. So this is as of May 31st. I added them as a vacancy. I notified them, notified you guys, and that's why it's like that. And then, so you may look here and it says 3 and you look back here and you only see 1. But if you look in the red, you'll see it's because they're expiring and we're basically posting it so that others can, and they also are told when they get the email that their term is expiring that they can reapply.
So you're giving us upcoming vacancies
Yeah.
as well.
So when you're looking at it and you're going, this says 2, but over here it's 1, we'll look for the red. They could be expiring term.
Thank you. That's helpful. Councilmember King?
One question I have regarding vacancies. On HRC, we recently had someone that did move outside of the city, but still owns property in the city of Ypsilanti. So is the requirement to live in the city or can they own property?
HRC doesn't require residency, I believe.
It doesn't require residency, but if you are apply as a resident and then you no longer are a resident, you just need to reapply as a non-resident.
Is there a minimum or maximum number on that? I don't know. I'm just asking of how many non-residents
so.
could be.
I think there is. I don't know exactly. I'd have to go
I
check.
don't think there are any. I'm just asking.
I think there's
Oh,
one, I may be wrong.
right, it does say right here on the side, it says the Human Relations Commission shall be composed of 9 members, all city residents. But again, are we defining residents as living in the city or owning property? Because I know this question came up before, and I know we appointed someone in the township that, they actual address. We have currently someone that lives in the township on HRC.
Yep, if you go, let's see, page 6 in the booklet, 15 in the packet, the member requirements, I kind of wrote it out more. And so if there's anything that's different about it, let me see, because I know I saw it there. Human Relations Commission shall, insofar as possible, protect diversity of the community. But there was one in the, just a second.
Yeah, it says all city residents.
It is,
Okay.
So again, is that defined as?
Residence is actually defined in our ordinance. So on page 15 or 24 in the packet, city residency required, and it tells you what that means. And then how residency is met was a resolution, and it says how that would mean. And then section 266 defines residency, means a place where one resides, a factual place of abode, living in a particular locality, including maintaining a home and sleeping there a majority of the time. That's in our ordinance as defining what a residence means. So when the ordinance says we require all residents,
You're sleeping in there.
you're sleeping there.
Okay.
But in the city residence requirement of section, it also says that you can be a, you have the power for certain ones where it says, if it's in the best interest of the city to appoint a continuing non-resident individual in office, and such appointment requires a vote of 5 affirmative votes of city council. If it's not, some of them require that you have to be, and there's no exception, like the historic district.
So wouldn't HRC be that too? Because it says all city residents in the
Yes.
So then,
language.
Yes.
we were out of, so then when the non-resident was appointed, that was incorrect. So then how do we, rectify that situation? I mean, I'm understanding so that those requirements for the HRC, is that something that we can change? Or if it's if it's part of the charter, then that would be a different process to change it. Oh,
No, but I just want to add that the residency requirement also can be met by being a business owner or having interest and of 2 years, and that was by resolution that was passed in 2022. And again, it's on page 15.
Does that apply to HRC? That doesn't.
but then that would get back,
Oh, in general. Okay, you're giving us general. Okay.
I know, it's like, we get it broad, and then
Yeah.
it keeps going into the different ones, there's all these
Yeah.
different things, which is why I tried to add that little box to the right.
Mhm.
And I know it doesn't look consistent, but it's not consistent.
yeah.
It's
Well,
definitely.
because then that expansion would speak to what Councilmember King is bringing up, because owning a property, would be a business interest, right? Would be owning a business in the area. Is that?
Correct.
Would be your understanding, okay.
But
Oh, sorry. Go
So I
ahead.
was just going so the charter doesn't have a lot of information on the membership, so that's all gonna be in the ordinance. So that's something that council would be able to fix if it so chooses.
So is that something, I wonder, I'm just gonna ask you as the liaison to the HRC, something you could take back to the HRC, maybe talk with the member about, so that then we could bring something forward to make right, by ordinance what it is, I suppose, unless we're going to somehow try to rectify it differently, because I think once it starts, then we might get other people, right, who are like, oh yeah, I am interested. I mean, especially I think part of it was because the HRC was defunct, and then we were trying to also kind of get it going. People were interested in joining it. So I don't know if this will be the last time that a non-resident would want to be there, but maybe it would be a good discussion for the HRC to have about that, and whether there's reasons for it to be that way, and to not change it, or if we would want to change it.
I wanted to say,
Go ahead.
just like the HRC says it in the ordinance that it has to be city residents, but also in the ordinance in section 2-111, it said the exception would be if determined by city council to be the best interest of the city. I don't know which trumps.
Mhm.
Right, that's, I guess what I was asking, like, what is it?
But
Yeah, because we're basically saying two different things
Yeah.
that sometimes can conflict.
And I definitely was hoping to have some clarity tonight, but it sounds like I may not have that clarity. But again, we have one person on HRC that is a township resident. We have another person that just moved out of the city that owns property in the city, and she still wants to be on HRC. So I would need clarification for both to move forward.
Because even if she were to, because then as it is, technically, this person wouldn't be able to reapply as a non-resident, unless we make a change or exception. But then if they moved out, but then are retaining a business interest, which is allowable,
Does that apply?
then that would mean that then they could continue in their seat with that continuation.
And then
Is that correct?
they were notified that they could reapply as a business owner if that was the case. They just couldn't do it. So if they originally applied as a resident, so far how the process has been, that they would have their, once they move, they're no longer eligible, they'd have to reapply for you all to realize there they moved and do you still want them? And I told her that she could reapply as that or a business owner, because it's up to you if you wanted to, what you want to do with it. Because of the one that says that it's up to you guys if you want to do best interest, but I'm not sure which one it is, which one. I mean, under human
That's the
resources,
question, what supersedes what in this?
And then also, is that an option on the form that a person says, oh, I have business interests, like I'm applying as a business interested person? Yeah, yes.
I don't. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I didn't make that form, but.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm just wondering, because then if they do reapply, whether that will put their seat, you know.
And then again, if we make an exception for the person that is currently on HRC still, I'm sure that would be problematic for her because again, she's in the township and has a business, so.
So we're looking at the potential of either losing two people or making some type of change so that that is allowable.
And recognizing that one has already been removed, yes. So we are, she has already been removed.
The language about the business owner is specific to the HRC or that's in the boards and commissions?
It's in this.
That is in the whole ordinance for boards and commissions
Yeah, that's in
under section 2.
Right, that's what I understood. So I would, if there's a,
So boards and commissions has its own section and that's there. HRC has its own little section and then it has something that doesn't.
That feels like HRC drills down and
I
gets
would-
more specific, but the overarching rule would be our boards and commissions language in our code of ordinances.
And again, if the actual charter, then it could be the charter that's dictating that. And I'm not sure about the HRC. It could be coming from the charter. I'm not sure.
That's not coming from the charter. I'll defer to Mr. Barker, but typically I imagine you go with a more restrictive ordinance.
So the
So-
HRC one would supersede the.
The general rule of statutory construction is a more specific ordinance is going to take precedence over a general ordinance. So if the HRC ordinance says, as it says, all of whom shall be residents of the city, then there is significant question whether you can make exception to that under the general rules for appointment of members. I'll
So,
just politely say that all of our board and commission provisions are nuanced.
That's why we've been here for 2.5 hours and we're not gonna get through this agenda by the end of the time.
Well,
What, Councilmember King, you had your hand up again? Okay, Councilmember
I
Fellows?
just want to mention we have a half hour left. And well, I thought I was gonna say something to what you were just mentioning. I'm gonna pull back because I can't remember.
Okay. I don't know, where do we go from here with this one?
Oh, I do remember. We do have a nomination for HRC for April 1st. So at least we'll be adding some members, and it sounds like based on what was just said that the folks that are in the township are not eligible based on the HRC's ordinance.
But the verdict is still out, right?
No,
Or is
we
that
just
the,
clarified
Just
that.
answered it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
So
he said, did you say?
and
Did you say for sure? You said it does supersede?
no, that is a general rule of statutory construction.
That's a very lawyerly answer of your, Andy.
Yeah, what's
And
in the
so-
ordinance is what's in the ordinance.
and that is created, so council did that, yes?
Council did that by ordinance, so the
By
only way I think
ordinance.
they can change that is by ordinance, not by resolution. So
Mhm.
that might actually solve the dilemma between this, ownership interest in a business versus residency, because that was established by a resolution, not by an ordinance.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if,
So the question still remains, I hate to cut you off, I'm sorry. If that is the answer, the question remains, how do we fix it?
An ordinance change would be the
it
answer,
would be the ordinance.
You have to change.
But in the meantime, those people are
would be off until.
non-compliant with our own.
A non-resident, at least it relates to HRC, a non-resident person who ceases to be a resident under the ordinance is an ineligible person, and they vacate their position.
Because they can't be there until.
Just as much as, say, Councilmember Simmons moves out of her ward, and she ceases to be a member of city council based on her lack of eligibility as an elector in that ward.
Yes, although everyone should know that I never want to move again. So, but, but
I
yeah.
interrupted you, so go.
No, but that's helpful, but I was gonna suggest that maybe for the HRC to have a conversation about the implications of this, because if there's a strong desire to maintain the all residents, then that's helpful to know. But if not, if there is a desire to shift that, then we should know so that we can then take action.
Why are we leaving it to them?
Well, I'm
They
just,
don't have, they don't have authority under the ordinance to.
I understand that we're creating it, but I'm just wondering, I mean, I guess, fine, we don't have to, but I'm just saying, because we're in this place of trying to talk about the boards and commissions and thinking about, what are their thoughts on things. So that's why I was saying that. But if council has a strong feeling and just wants to change it, then that's fine too. But it sounds like folks are kind of confused and kind of seeing all these different things and kind of I don't know. So I was just lifting that as a way to get some more information around, well, how do they see it? Do they see it really as being really important or not? And also to make clear what these changes mean, because it means that some of their members are no longer able to serve. So, I mean, if council feels strongly, then that's fine too. I just was kind of offering that as a discussion for them.
And so with that being said, I know I have not raised my hand, I apologize, but with that being said, why, we can assume, but why does it say only city residents?
Because the council at that
At
point,
that time, that's what came up. That was what was voted on in the creation of the ordinance. This is not something that's in my time. This has been here.
Well, I guess I didn't know if anyone knew the history, so I just thought I would throw that
No,
question
man,
out
this is
there.
eons beyond any of us.
You can go back and watch the video. No,
Yeah, okay.
There
Ain't
is.
no video. This is many, many, many moons before any of us were on.
1995.
There you go. I was a child, a wee baby. I know, I was. a little bit.
I guess then to Mayor Pro Tem's point, does council, I just don't want it, I guess my main thing is I just wanted to be clear about what the next steps are. And so to know kind of what our expectation of what action we will be taking.
I'm gonna say it. Action is based on if you want to take action to change. If somebody wants to take action, two people can
Okay.
take
But as
action.
it stands now,
But right now,
the
they
status of those two
Yeah.
people is that they're ineligible.
they're ineligible to be on.
They're not, they need to be notified that they're ineligible to be on that thing. If we change that, then they can reapply and do that.
Necessarily not. That's not, that wouldn't, yeah.
Mhm.
So who would notify them? Okay,
So there's just one
Whoa,
person who needs to be notified.
right.
Let's see. All right. Do you have something, Lori?
I would just say, I know that you're mentioning the time on page 28 is the index. Is there anything that you're wanting to still understand in there that maybe? For myself, I would like 15 under ethics, kind of like, for vetting, like if someone's already served, like if there's anything that you guys would like to know from the staff liaisons or the staff or the other commissioners, like if you're going to be reappointing someone or something like that.
Can you clarify what you're asking?
So really, I did two things. Would be if someone's right now, like on the form for appointing. I realize that you about having something if you're a business owner. We don't have that, but also on the reappointing, if there's something to be added by resolution that for council would like to have the opinions of the staff or staff liaisons or the other commissioners before they reappoint someone. You see what I'm saying?
We want feedback from others.
Yep. And then the other thing would be the conduct. We do have some slight issues, but mostly we have some really great commissioners and they do a lot of great work. But we do have some that we're having issues with. And so some kind of like, ethical, conduct for staff and other commissioners. Like if one commissioner doesn't like the other commissioner, it's vocal, things like that. And I don't know how to deal with that. I'm not sure what to do with that.
Well, this, it just says, yeah, it says, well, it says that a member of a board may be removed for cause by the governing body. Removal, wait, this is under a specific one, never mind.
Where's that at?
That's actually under a specific one. I'm looking at this, I was like, I was trying to find some other, this, I just saw that was under the DDA, but.
I thought it was in the general
Yeah, in the
ordinance that we could remove.
That's a charter amendment. It was approved in 2014. 3/4 of council can remove any member of a commission.
Based on, is there anything?
I votes.
Specifically non-specific.
That's
Okay.
I just wanted, in this little blurb here,
Mhm.
this is literally cut and pasted right into this. So some people can read it better. It was meant to be, so when you're looking at it, if this is just too small or whatever.
No, I love this. This is great. Okay.
My progressive lens, thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
It seems like we still have a lot of ground to cover in terms of clarifications from city attorney and Lori and Tracy. I guess the question in the last 17 minutes, another time to have a second working session for this, and priorities for what we bring to that and what is left untouched in these things. Because there's some issues that I want to bring up that are going to take more than 17 minutes to discuss. And
Oh, so other parts from this booklet, you're saying?
well, no, other parts that are here, but we're just not going to get to it in 17 minutes. Like this is a much longer discussion. This is a huge amount of work, and I want to thank you for doing that, and thank you for bringing this up as a work session. But this is a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of nuance, as Randy says. So, shoring this up and making things consistent I think it's going to take another meeting.
Just as a point of order, are you suggesting by motion that we adjourn this to a specified date?
No, I'm saying that we just schedule another meeting. I don't think adjourning means stopping now. I'm not, no.
You just
Continue
said-
to the time limit, but set another date for continuance. Continuance, not adjourn.
Depends on what your state you're in and which court you're in. They use the terms interchangeably.
I know.
So you're just asking us to schedule another meeting to
Yep.
keep going. Okay. Councilmember Phillips?
I support that. I wanted to get to talking about the scope. I wanted to talk about staff roles. And also this information about how to request a resolution to be included in city council agenda. So there's, I think, quite a few things to get to discuss. And so, I know that might require setting another meeting on top of our other meetings, but there's more to cover here. I think one note I have is this is a lot of information and is wonderful to have, but as far as structuring a conversation, I think we could have more like the topics and talk about things, and use this as a reference, but that's why I felt like I had to amend the agenda because there wasn't the space to talk about topics more deeply. And so that's why I think we weren't able to get through everything. And I also just want to state concern about staff making comments about who is and who isn't appropriate for commissions. I think it's up to the body to decide, or council. But the bodies usually have bylaws in which they can decide to vacate someone or not. And so that is up to the commission or council, not staff.
Oh, for sure. Councilmember Simmons?
So I'm just wondering, as we have all this information, whether we need another work session or whether there are specific things that a work group can work through and bring forward so that we know, okay, these are the things that we need to, that people know of, like, we need to either, here are the possibilities to take action on some of these things. So just whether people feel like we need to all be a part of the discussion or whether folks can bring things forward to the rest of the body.
I think there's enough, seems like there's been enough questions from everybody here, and Councilmember McLean wasn't able to make it today, and Councilmember Tucson is off, so I'd suggest that it be another limited time work session. Because even with that, another 2.5 hours or 3 hours of discussion is going to refine what we need to have action on. I think we should have a monthly meeting about commission.
Can't take it. Councilmember King?
I would say I would want to have another work session because I know I want to talk about term limits and also talk about how many commissions can commissioners be on at one time.
Mhm.
Can we have these topics kind of enumerated so then they become
Sure.
the agenda or the discussion topics?
And
I know that there was questions. I know that was something that the clerks asked and to help create this. And so this kind of came out of the lack of that. So
I submitted topic.
no, I know. Yeah, I mean, and I didn't have, but that still got added here somehow. So I just said lack. I didn't say none. But so anyway, so I think that if we do that, then that would be good. And yeah, so we should set another meeting and maybe I won't be there, but that's okay because other people aren't here today. So
Every time, are you wanting to set the date right now?
No, I would say that we take this up at our next regular council meeting to get the other folks in and schedule a meeting.
Member Fellows?
Just before the meeting ends, I just want to confirm the things that I heard came out of the meeting as far as, changes that are coming up. So basically that the commission emails are going to be added to each of the commission websites, and that council liaisons will be added to the commission emails, and that the kind of ward seeking information will be removed from the website. And then the HRC commissioner residency issues will be notified and explained.
I believe, Laura, you've already reached out to the commissioners, correct?
When?
For HRC.
No.
That was the first two, not this one tonight.
Another.
Oh, okay.
There's one-
Sorry,
Yeah.
my fault.
Appointed May 14th, 2024.
Okay. That's too bad.
I think that's a third person.
No, that would be the second person.
No, but the one person was gonna be leaving in
Oh,
March.
yeah,
the third.
correct.
I'm counting that
Mhm.
person too. Yeah. Jamie has something? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you? Okay.
Just one thing to add to this, that I thought I had given as a topic that didn't make it on here was, bylaws and,
Get to where we're going to speak to you guys about maybe doing a universal bylaw, because all the commissions have their own bylaws
Mhm.
and they're out of date. They're kind of wrong. And they're hard to follow. And I gave an example, was just like quorum, for HRC and for YPAC. While what quorum is the majority of seated, if there's not a full seat, I think YPAC is 3 members and HRC is 4 members. And so, when we're out and one of you ask us and we're like, it's because every single one is different. So we were going to propose a universal bylaws that we would make up. And then obviously the commissions would approve and.
Yeah, I believe that would have been included under 12 commissioner processes and procedures.
Okay.
But I have it. So if I can read off what I kind of heard, just to make sure I have everything, is commissioner emails include staff liaison, have them on the website, scope of commission, staff relationship to the commission, how to place something on an agenda by a commission, potential term limits, bylaws. Am I missing anything? I'll email these out as,
Term, the term.
Yeah.
The start, like the start and end.
yeah, I'll email, excuse me, I will email this out tomorrow, just so you have that list. And then if I miss something, let me know.
Okay, that'll work. That's better. Thank you. All right. Anything further then?
The last sheet.
Oh,
I just- I
this
told
one,
you guys
yeah.
That is, I just wrote out your commissioners, yours too. So that they would be acknowledged and sit.
Yeah,
right?
I get it.
And that was, so what we were saying about maybe having some kind of event, for them. We used to, I guess, have it. We found we were going through the basement, they used to, actually hold events annually for the boards and commissions. And so, we were just thinking maybe that could be something that we could do. It could be something that's, really low key, just get together. Could be a potluck, could be whatever you guys wanted, but we just wanted to bring that
How long ago was the last time that happened?
forward.
Okay.
I don't-
I was like, I've never been to a party.
Right.
Yeah. Councilors?
I was just gonna say, like, I know that one of the things that we had talked about when we had the work group that brought proposals to council around the commissions, that, it was both around it, there's a training piece, which I see that there's been some things around. But another thing we had talked about was having kind of like a fair, like a community fair where the commissions could be and the community could come, learn about commissions and maybe, see what commission they might want to join, different things like that. We had talked about combining it with Ward Field Day. But, just as different ways to actually bring people to the space. But I would think that kind of we want to do something with bringing folks together, that I feel like it would be great for it to feed into how we actually continue to grow and strengthen the commissions.
I guess the other thing I'd add to the list you've got, I'll send it to you, is contact with liaisons and chair
Mhm.
during nominations.
So, yeah, so the addition I guess I will add based on this would be another topic just to be commission outreach. Yeah, because that would get at, different ways that we can do it in public and things of that sort.
So I just want to say, thank you, Anna Clark Boudreau, for all of this. You did so much work to put this stuff together, and I appreciate it. We appreciate it. And also, absolutely, I think it's important to acknowledge folks who are giving of their time to support the city. And it's a thankless job sometimes, So thanks to all of our board and commission nurse for the work that you all do. Because it's a lot of work and a lot of time that you give to your community. So we appreciate it. If there's nothing further, all right, the meeting's adjourned. Oh, do I gotta do that?
5 minutes late.
I mean, yeah.
I know, I thought we were,
I thought it was 7 and 10 anyway.
I know, I thought
It was good.